All right. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Sweat the Bed podcast brought to you by OddsJam.com. For those of you who are sports betting, go check out OddsJam.com, which is our sponsor. OddsJam.com offers you a bunch of awesome tools that you have to check out, guys. Positive EV, positive expected value. These are the types of bets that you want to bet, guys. Okay. You don't want to be betting negative EV constantly. So check out OddsJam for positive EV alerts, arbitrage betting tools, bet trackers. We have the OddsJam player prop app on the iOS store. So check out all these things. There are free tools, there are premium tools, but it is a must, especially now with NFL in full swing, guys. So check it out. We are your co-hosts. I am Andrew Kim, aka the ParlayDoc, and here with me is Matt Jedi Modi. What is up, Matt? How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I was catching up on House of Dragon. I don't know if you're a Game of Thrones / House of Dragon guy, but I'm a little bit behind on the episodes. So before we started recording, I was just catching up.
Oh yeah, I watched Game of Thrones. I did watch it all the way through all the seasons. So what is House of Dragon? I've heard of it, but is this just like a spin-off series or something? Or
Kind of. It's about like
House
basically
Targaryen, the
it's about like
Targaryens?
basically
Or?
the end of like the beginning of the end of House Targaryen,
Okay,
essentially. It takes place like I think 200 years before the events of Game of
got
Thrones.
gotcha.
It's about like an older Targaryen family. I mean, it's pretty good. It's the ending of Game of Thrones was horrible, which just left a bad taste in everybody's mouth. But I mean, only 9 episodes in, but it's pretty good.
Gotcha. All right. Well, hopefully, House of Dragons can just burn away the terrible memories of our picks from last week. So for those of you who've been following, we apologize because trust me when we say, if you guys tailed some of our picks, we're betting these with our own money. So, good Lord, good
Really
Lord.
bad.
But you know what? As a gambler, you hit reset, refresh, and this is a brand new week. And we're going to try to do better in week 6, guys. So stay tuned at least for the content and the breakdown. And if you've been fading us, you'd actually be pretty rich by now. So,
Yeah,
so all right.
would we go 0-6?
Oh my God. Oh my
And I
God.
was
It is
very
it.
confident about the bets that I had too. That's the worst part. There are some days where I'm like, feel like I have to force a pick. I was very confident in the ones that I went with, and it
Oh
was
yeah.
just a big old fart noise.
Yeah. I mean, it's look, who could have imagined that the Broncos and Russ could play any worse than they have against one of the worst offenses without Jonathan Taylor? Of course, literally on one play, I lose Teddy Bridgewater, who I consider to be at least a decent, average
The
quarterback.
first play of the game.
The first play of the game, and it was that one for me. The Dolphins -3 was over immediately. And somehow they were in the game until about the middle third quarter, maybe, and then they just couldn't keep up anymore
Wheels fell off.
with
Yeah.
their third string, which I don't blame them. And then, of course, the Eagles look awesome in the first half, and then they just fall flat on offense. But of course, they managed to win,
I
and then
know.
they still, oh
And they
God,
couldn't get a
God.
touchdown at the end, too. That was the worst part. They had the ball as I'm knocking my headphones out of my ears at like the goal line, and then just I had to settle for a field goal.
Yeah, unbelievable. So, like I said, guys, so for those of you who've caught some of our live streams, I was so confident that Denver couldn't go any lower into the depths of the NFL that, yes, I am going to unfortunately man up and I am going to eat the Pocky one chip challenge, the Reaper pepper and Scorpion pepper. Oh my God, this
I mean,
sounds
those are
terrible, guys.
horrifying sounding names.
Yeah, they sound horrible. And Matt, of course, had to send me some reviews on Amazon about these, and they sound terrible. So I will be eating this on our live stream on Thursday to prepare ourselves for hopefully, it could be an ugly game between my Chicago Bears and the Washington Commanders, but I guess we'll start the sweat literally early that day on our live stream. So join us, and I will man up and follow through on my self-proclaimed bet since the Broncos couldn't cover. And not only could they not cover, they lost the damn game, that I'm going to eat that. And the Broncos are now dead to me, guys. So
As they should be.
yeah,
I
yeah,
will say
yeah.
it made me think like the week where you decided to do the one chip challenge is the same week where we like combined to go 0-6,
Oh,
which made me
God.
think moving forward, should that just be a thing? Like every week, if we go 0-6, I guess we'll see how Thursday night goes. We'll see how bad the one chip challenge is. But should that be a thing that we like,
Oh,
promise the listener base if we go 0-6 that we both have
we
to
we
do?
torture ourselves somehow.
Yeah, maybe we'll see how you do tomorrow, how you do Thursday. Whenever I mean, depending when you're watching this, it might, or listening, watching, whatever, it might have already happened, but maybe
Yeah.
we'll see how the one chip challenge goes. And then if it doesn't scare us off entirely.
Yeah, I'm worried. I think I might die, but we'll see how it goes, guys. So, all right. Well, what we got in store for you today, like I said, positive mindset. We are approaching this with a fresh mindset. We're not going to let last week hinder us, guys. So, we're going to go over some of the prime time and a few select games from NFL Week 6 that's coming up. We are going to go over our quote unquote best bets, which we have not been doing so great on. But you know what? When I listen to Barstool, some of their quote unquote best guys right now, Barstool, Big Cat and stuff, they're around 8-8. So we're not too far behind. And some of their other folks on their podcasts are even worse than us on our records. So, we in terms of other podcast competition, obviously they got millions of viewers. But in terms of our picks,
we're working our way up there.
We're working our way. We'll catch up to the Barstool guys at the very least. So
yeah.
So hang in there and we'll go over some of our best bets for this week. So let's kick it off with our traditional sweat, no sweat segment. So I'll kick it off. So here we go. On Monday Night Football, Matt, the roughing the passer call on Chris Jones, who basically did a clean sack, in my opinion.
Stripped him.
Stripped Derek Carr, actually put his left hand down to brace himself so that the full weight of himself would not fall on Derek Carr. And you could see that clearly on the replay. This was one of the worst roughing the passer calls you have seen in a long time. At least in recent memory, this was one of the worst, or the worst, let's say the worst roughing the passer call in your recent memory that you can recall.
I think the Grady Jarrett one was worse.
Oh, okay.
They were both really bad. I remember this was a couple years ago at this point. When they the first year that they said they're going to strictly call the roughing the passer penalties, they introduced these new rules. I think it was the 2018 or 2019 season. It was a couple of years ago, but I remember there were some horrific roughing the passer calls that year. And then I think the NFL kind of toned it down. They were okay, it's becoming unwatchable with how bad this is. So they toned it down, just like the same thing with when they made pass interference reviewable, and they realized it made the product significantly worse. So it was a 1-year thing. Okay, Sean Payton, you cried your way into this rule. We're changing it back. But yeah, I mean, they were both really bad. I personally think the one against Grady Jarrett was worse. I also think that complaining about the refs is just shoveling water out of an ocean. You're not gonna dry out the ocean. The refs are gonna be bad. It's same thing with basketball. I think the discourse that I have no patience with is people complaining about the refs because they're just bad. You just have to accept that the refs are bad. They're generally not biased. I do think that it's kind of BS how refs will call games in a different way. So you can kind of, I mean, there's accounts on Twitter, ref analytics, this ref, take the over with this ref because calls a light game. Take the under with this ref because whatever. So
yeah, especially in the NBA, they break it down pretty well actually for the NBA refs.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So the fact that they're the human error creates a situation where refs are legitimately impacting games because of how they call it, not because they're no Tim. I hope not. There's no Tim Donaghy situation going on where they're literally betting on the games, but the way they call it, it shouldn't have that much of an impact. But that's unless you have robots reffing, it's just going to be what it is. But yeah, I mean, they were brutal.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's interesting too, because I think if people who follow us on Twitter, I was complaining a lot just because I was on that FanDuel PMI super boost that needed the Chiefs -5.5 with Mahomes 250 yards. And that was a crucial play. That was minimum a 6-point swing, if not potentially more. So that's why I was pissed off.
Could have been 10.
But in fairness, I think I was started texting Matt in the second half. Then all of a sudden you get all these makeup calls because I think the refs really realized just how much they effed up. Then suddenly all these ticky-tack calls start going towards the Chiefs way. So it's hilarious.
Do you remember I forget what the call was, but there's at one point they were going to call a penalty on the Chiefs. And then they ended up picking up the flag.
Yeah, they picked up the
ref's
flag.
Voice literally cracked. He's there's no penalty. Please stop booing.
And then they give him that crucial first down on the field goal attempt.
Field goal,
that
he missed. Yeah, I mean,
it goes back and forth. It goes back and forth both ways, guys. So
yeah, it does. Yeah, and it is frustrating when you have a rooting interest and the ref blows a call. There's nothing more aggravating. I just think it's such a waste of time to get up in arms about and I'm not saying this for you specifically, but like Twitter was just
Oh yeah.
ablaze with these not pass interference, with these roughing the passer calls. Like, yeah, refs suck. It just is what it is.
Yeah. No, it sucks when your money's involved, but you're right. It happens and it goes both ways. And that's why I mentioned the second half, because then all of a sudden all the calls started going the Chiefs way.
And they had like a 45-minute meeting to discuss the intentional grounding. That's another thing. Like, why do they need to have like a dissertation written on whether it's intentional grounding or not? Like, I don't understand why that's the only penalty. That in delay of game is simply the hardest thing for a ref to call.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
As I'm here complaining about the refs.
So what do you got for me, Matt? What's your sweat or no sweat for this week?
All right, my sweat or no sweat for this week. So we have 2 games this week that I think will be a rematch, or I guess the AFC and NFC championship game will be a rematch of 2 games played this week. Chiefs Bills, Cowboys Eagles. Okay. Sweat or no sweat?
Chiefs Bills. Cowboys.
That one is probably the least spicy of the 2.
Yeah. Chiefs Bills, yeah. That one I would say no sweat. I mean, if we're saying in total, oh man. Yeah, I don't know about the Cowboys Eagles. I mean, Eagles are going to get there, so well, yeah.
I mean, maybe. I don't like the thing with the NFC and the AFC. I think are kind of wide open, but for different reasons. Like the AFC has so many good teams. Like, who would you say is the best team in the NFC?
NFC right now?
Yeah.
Oh god.
Like, there's no one you feel great about.
Yeah, that's the problem. I mean, I'd still have to just be lame, and yeah, I know I keep talking about them, but yeah, I think I would just still say the Eagles, but I wouldn't say, as deceptively bad as not impressive as their record is. I mean, even a team like the 49ers, they're still in my mind like a juggernaut of a defense. They're
the defense, yeah.
I'm not saying
Jimmy G. We've seen enough out of Jimmy G.
So, and because of that, I'd still say Eagles. I wouldn't say it's like a given or something. And then the AFC, it's tough because you have a couple teams at the top that are legit, and you can make a case for several. But yeah, no, I mean, overall, I don't think anyone would have really thought with Dak out, right, that
they've won 4 straight.
Yeah, the Cowboys would have their record. So if anything, they have that buffer and that cushion right now. So I'm actually going to go back and say, yeah, I think on face value, I kind of hesitated, but yeah, I actually can see it. I can see it. As boring as that sounds, I feel like this could be a sneak peek of what we're going to see later in the season. So I'll actually go with no sweat, honestly. So
yeah, I mean, I got to take an L on the Cowboys. Heading into the year, I was fading them. After the Dak injury, I had them left for dead.
Oh, me too. Me too.
So
that was another wrong read. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to get stuff wrong. We're going to, that's just how it is. But I mean, I still think I'd probably say the Bucs are the best team in the NFC. I think they have a great defense. I think they'll shore up the offense once they get some of their weapons, assuming they ever get healthy. But like, if the Eagles get the 1 seed, would I be surprised if they win 2 home games? Or just, I guess, to get to the NFC Championship, 1 home game, like probably not. Yeah. Especially because if you look at, so like I would say the Cowboys, the Eagles, and the Bucs are probably the top 3. I'll pretty comfortably say the top 3. And then like the Rams are disappointing. The 49ers are kind of like hit or miss, a great defense, but hit or miss. The Packers have been disappointing.
Yeah, they have.
And like, who's even left? Like the Vikings are, I guess, a surprising 4-1 team that no one really talks about.
No, you called them as a sleeper. You called them early. I said the Lions might be a kind of a sleeper. You were talking about the Vikings. So the Vikings, you were right on that one in one of our preseason episodes. So
yeah, I mean,
for them, it's the consistency problem.
It's the Kirk Cousins in an important game problem.
It's the Kirk Cousins problem, really. So. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. My only comments, I don't know about the Bucs. I actually think the Bucs won't get it together, and I think minus them having some weird, crazy, impromptu return of like Gronk or like somehow.
Honestly, it's their offensive line that needs a return.
They need an offensive line. They probably and you said health. They need everyone to be healthy.
Yeah.
Godwin to not be having these nagging injuries. Evans is a stud. I don't know. You pick up either Gronk comes out of retirement or you somehow snag someone like OBJ. I don't know. You need something like that. I feel like, but I feel like health health is going to catch up, and I don't know if they're going to be able to fill the gaps of some of these deficiencies, like you said, the O-line and things like that. I don't know. I have worries that the Bucs I've never been big on them from the start of the season, even though I know that the defense is legit. I don't know if they're going to be able to get it together as the season progresses. So I'm actually a little low on the Bucs.
I think that's totally fair. And how funny is it that like it's a Tom Brady led team, and we're saying, well, I just don't know if their offense will get it together. But and the problem, I mean, the problem's not Brady. Like as weird as like the whole offseason has been with him, he's been great.
In my opinion, he's been solid.
He's been great. It's just the weapons, the offensive line. At some point,
if you don't have enough time to throw and they're going to triple team Evans and they know you're force feeding, I mean, it's kind of hard. It's tough. You can't really scheme that. You out scheme that. So. All right. Well, okay, guys. So let's get into the heart of the show, the meat and potatoes. Let's go through the primetime games in week 6, a couple select games that we want to talk about. So first game, we'll kick it off. We'll just kind of go in order from Thursday through Monday. Guys. Okay. We got Washington Commanders at Chicago at my proud 2-3 Chicago Bears, who I already apologized to because I faded them really hard in week 1 in that monsoon game against the 49ers. And I haven't been touching Bears games since because I've just been paranoid after I screwed it up with that juju. So real quick, let's go over it. Bears are 2-3. Commanders are limping into a 1-4 record right now. Bears still 29th offense, although I will say there were some flashes of encouragement last game, even though it was an L, but 29th ranked DVOA offense, 18th on defense, respectable average, 15th versus the pass, 25th versus the run. Commanders 1-4 record, 30th offense, one under my Bears under the DVOA rankings, 19th defense, about the same. Terrible 29th versus the pass, respectable, very good 6th versus the run. Okay, so let's go over Bears, some key points. I think keys to this game for my Bears, at least. Justin Fields, he's going to have to stay upright. So they're going to have to protect him because you know what? Surprisingly, even despite their woes, the Commanders have about 14 sacks this season. So about 7th most, surprisingly. So they're still able to put some pressure, get to the QB. Some things that were encouraging for me as a Bears fan last game, even though they took the L and there was just some horrendous wide receiver play to just screw things up in key moments. Justin Fields, I feel like they are starting to give him a few more design runs, and I think you just want to play to that strength. Had about 47-ish, I think, yards running, a few of them on very clearly designed run plays. So I hope they keep mixing it up and doing some of those. I want to see Mooney and Jones, Velus Jones, to get involved early. The rest of the receivers outside of those two, Matt, have combined for 209 yards in 5 games. Every receiver outside of Mooney and Jones in 5 total games, barely over 200 yards.
That's legitimately more than I would have thought. With how bad this passing offense has been, that is legitimately more than I would have thought. I mean, how many yards does Justin Fields have? Like 500?
I don't even know. Just not a lot. That's because I told you I think this was through week 3, and then I just gave up keeping track because I didn't care anymore.
He's got 679 through 5 games.
Yeah. You know what? And that's picking up quite a bit because that's through 3 weeks, through week 3, that's where I think I quoted us on the show. I think I said they only had like 18 completed passes, 17 or 18 through like 3 weeks as a team. It was just insane. I couldn't believe it. That it was like the lowest total since the 1970s. So
through 3 weeks, they had 297 yards of passing.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Oh my God. That's
so
bad.
I will say, if there was anything to take from the L, there were some flashes. I was so worried that they weren't even going to let Fields throw the rest of the season, but they let him sling it a little bit last game. You know, you saw a few connections to Mooney, to Jones. So like, I'm just hoping they loosen that, that leash and just let him just be a little bit freer and just let him make mistakes. I want to see what he can do. Obviously, it's multifactorial. It takes protection. It takes him being able to read the defense and know what to check down to. So I know some of that's on him, but just give him more freedom. And I hope that they even let him loosen up even a little more, even compared to the previous game. And if there was a game to do it, this is one of those games. Like the Vikings were 28th in pass defense DVOA specifically. The Commanders are 29th. So if there's a team you can replicate that and let them loosen up a little and throw a few, this is another game where just let them practice, let them grow. I want to see some of that. So that's what I got, at least for some comments about my Bears. For the Commanders, I think Ron Rivera's quote says it all, right? I think, right? Did you see that tweet? Did you see?
Yeah. What would you say is the reason why the Commanders are struggling and the rest of the NFC East is playing well? Quarterback.
One word.
I mean, if only the Commanders had someone like Cooper Rush leading their team, then who knows how good they could possibly be with the Cooper Rush,
There you go. And then, of course, Ron Rivera walked it back.
No, I was talking about how just, the teams were more, they had more, or the quarterbacks had more time in the system. That's what I meant when I said quarterback, because, Cooper Rush, the backup quarterback, didn't take a single first team snap all offseason. That's fine because he's familiar with the system.
Yeah, whatever. Riverboat Ron. So let me ask you this in all seriousness. I mean, you and I have roasted Wentz over and over and over.
No,
again, come on.
not an Eagles fan. No.
Yeah. Okay, no, but in all seriousness, I mean, is it in your opinion? Is it that simple? Is it literally, is most of this and is the majority of this on him? Because look, on face value, you glance, even if you're a casual fan, right? I mean, you have decent pieces, right? It's not like they're talentless, right? I mean, you have some legitimate pieces, whether it's in the run game, you got some decent receivers. I mean, you clearly have some decent pieces on the defensive line with some run stopping ability. So what is it like? What ultimately, like, what do you feel like are the major reasons for this 1-4 record and these struggles? Do you think it's too much of a cop out to just say it's Wentz, or is that appropriate for Ron Rivera to just come out and say in one word, quarterback?
I think it's 50% Wentz. It's 50% coaching. I mean, like, you're a Jack Del Rio led defense is simply not going to win in the year 2022. It's just not going to happen. And they have talent. Their defensive line is riddled, even without Chase Young. What's that, like 4 first-round picks along that defensive line? It's something insane. Like, they have legitimate talent at the line. Their linebackers leave something to be desired. And their secondary, I think, like heading into last year, was thought to be good when they signed William Jackson, but their secondary has been terrible, as evidenced by that passing defense. But to me, it's coaching and it's quarterback. Like, they have good weapons on offense. They have a defensive minded head coach. So they're the 29th and whatever it is in passing, 19th in defensive DOA. That's not the quarterback's fault. I'm not going to put that on Wentz, but
sure.
I will put 100% of the offensive struggles on Carson Wentz, because he's just not a winning quarterback. Like, and people blame the play calling, the offensive line. It's the third team that we've heard that with. He makes your offensive line look worse. He's stubborn. So there's certain play calls that he just might simply check out of, or they just won't install because he's stubborn. I did find it funny. When Wentz threw the interception to end the game, to lose the game against the Titans, I tweeted something, of course, as I did, and some guy responded with the GIF that was like, obsessed much? Like, yeah, I'm absolutely obsessed with watching this guy fail. Him and Ben Simmons for the rest of my life. I will absolutely be obsessed with watching them fail, because they're losers. They cried their way out of a sports city that I love. So yes, I'm absolutely obsessed with watching him fail, because he stinks. So anyways, but yeah, I mean, to answer your question, it's 50-50. It's Ron Rivera. He's got to go. And it's Wentz. He's got to go. Gotcha. But I will say, like, looking at this game, I thought it was kind of funny. Like, first of all, I might have mentioned this last week, I can't remember, but I find it hilarious that the NFL is just leaning into the bit of scheduling these just horrifically bad Thursday night games. It's like an ongoing joke every year how bad Thursday night football is. And every year the NFL continues to schedule these terrible games. Like, there was no scenario preseason that this was going to be a good game. There's no realm of possibility where this game was going to be good. The NFL was like, guess what? I don't care. You're going to watch it Thursday night football. It is what it is. Like the Colts Broncos last week, preseason should have been a good game. Who would have thought Russell Wilson would forget how to play quarterback, and Matt Ryan would forget how to play quarterback. So that one you can give them a pass. But this one, there's no pass given.
Yeah, no, there isn't. And I think the way that I could see it, though, strategically, I'm not saying from a product standpoint, it's smart, but strategically, right, from a marketing viewership, strategy standpoint, like you said, Broncos, Colts, you could have made the argument, the hype about Russell Wilson and, the Broncos being a true Super Bowl contender, at least at the time in theory. And look, you have a stud in Jonathan Taylor, a decent Colts team. Matt Ryan brings some extra, flair to it. That made sense from a star power standpoint, hype standpoint, right? This one, I can say you're there. I think in my mind, if I was a business executive, be like, we're gonna put all these trash things on Thursdays because we know we'll still beat everyone in ratings.
Of course.
Yeah, of course. And then for this one in particular, we know that they're two bad teams, but one of them is the Chicago market. Right, a huge market that will just get an enormous viewership.
Because it will watch.
As Bears, you're gonna have millions of people watch just because it's the Bears, right?
Yeah, and two things at the beginning of the year, you can make the false argument of hope. The earlier in the season, the less bad the teams are, the more you have the argument for hope. And
that too, yeah.
Every team plays a Thursday night game, so they had to schedule both the Commanders and the Bears at some point.
Yeah,
but it's just like they knew they were just mailing it in for this game. But about the game itself, I found it funny that the line opened up -1.5 towards the Commanders and has been bet down to now they're +1. Some books have them at a pick 'em.
Yeah.
The only thing I'll say, like in terms of the winner, I like the Bears a pretty decent amount to win this game. I also like the over. It's at 37.5, the total.
Yep. 37.5.
That for two bad defenses, like I know these offenses are bad, but the one thing I'll give to Wentz, it's all about pressure. Any semblance of pressure, and he will fold. The Bears are 18th in pressure rate, 18th in pass rush according to DVOA.
Yeah,
and they struggle in the secondary. So I think if there's anything that he's going to have turnovers because he's Carson Wentz, but he'll probably also throw for a ton of yards. So to me, like 37.5 is just too low, especially to your point. The Bears showed some signs of life on offense in that second half against the Vikings, another bad pass defense. So even if the Bears offensive line can't hold up, because they probably won't be able to, they can be creative enough, which is asking a lot of Fields to just roll him out, some sort of get him out of the pocket. Sure. Then I think they can pick apart the defense enough where both teams can be in the 20s. I'm not asking for a lot, just like 20-19, 20-21-17 in that in that game, and that goes over the total. So I like the Bears. I like the over more.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I like the Bears barely. So if I have to pick a winner, I would pick the Bears. The fact that it's -1, yeah, I mean, I'd say
at that point, whatever.
Bears -1 just for better odds. And then, I do like the over for the same reasons. Two bad defenses. The Bears have been showing signs of life, like you said. And if you're not gonna be able to put pressure and sack Wentz, like I said, they have enough pieces that they should find a way to score a couple touchdowns.
Great skill positions.
That's what I'm saying. They have skill position players, right? I mean,
two good receivers. I'm saying two. They have three, but Jahan Dotson's out. But like De'Ami Brown had 2 long touchdowns last week. Like he's perfectly capable of taking the top off the defense.
Exactly.
So they just have to protect him. But the problem with Wentz is he's so his pocket awareness and shifting in the pocket is so bad that sometimes all he needs to do is just like take a step to the left. But Wentz is like, no, I'm actually going to run straight into the pressure. That's what I'm going to do.
Yep. All right, guys. So it seems like on this one, Matt and I, even though it's an ugly game, we both seem to like the Bears. We seem to like the over as another lean. So I'll probably be taking a little bit of action on both of those.
I might parlay it.
Yeah, there you go. We might have to SGP that and then finally get one of these. So let's see. Next game. So this is not a primetime one, but one of the games we selected to talk about is the Minnesota Vikings at the Miami Dolphins. So I'll let Matt kick this one off to kind of give us and lay the table. But I guess I'll kick it off with one question and pass it to you.
Sure.
Is right now I'm reading as we're kind of on our live on our recording here, but as of a few hours ago, it's saying Mike McDaniel saying Tua does not seem to be improving enough that he feels like there's any confidence that he may actually play this week. So that's the latest twist right now, coming out about 5-6 hours ago. It looks like that was the comments in a press conference. So
yeah, I think that's what makes it tough to like truly handicap this game, is because we're not sure who's going to be quarterback. Like we're not even sure it's going to be Teddy. He could he also could.
That's the thing.
He also
might not be either. It might not be either. Yeah.
I think Teddy's going to play because he didn't even have a concussion. They were just so scared last week that they were like, you know what? I don't care. We're gonna like whatever. We're not gonna leave him in.
I know.
So I generally had a hard time with this one, assuming that it is Teddy. Like I said, the Vikings might be the quietest 4-1 team in the NFL. Yeah. Like the Giants are 4-1, but people are talking about like, oh wow, look at the Giants. They're 4-1. But the Vikings are also 4-1. They beat the Packers in week 1. Other than that, like they haven't had the most impressive wins, like beating the Bears, beating the Saints, beating the Lions. All by one score. Not super impressive. And the one test that they did have happened to be on Monday Night Football when they just got smoked by the Eagles. So I think once that happened, everybody was just like, I know we're done. Like, you know what? These Vikings, we're done with them.
Yeah.
Also, they don't really grade out that well analytically. Like I'm sure you looked at this as well, but DVOA, they're only 20th despite being 4-1. And they did almost blow that game against the Bears. Like, didn't the Bears take the lead at one point?
Oh yeah, they did. They did. My Bears came back and then they just shot themselves in the foot multiple times.
They realized right, we are tanking, so we need to show some promise, but we also still need to lose. But yeah, I mean, they, like you said, they made Justin Fields and that if you make that passing offense look good, then you are bad. But I still ended up leaning with the Vikings just because like that much uncertainty at quarterback is too scary for me. So I'll lay the 3 points and I'll take the Vikings -3. Granted, that's a lean. That's not a confident play, but being forced to make a prediction, that's what I ended up with.
Yeah, same for me. I'll be brief on this one because I think it was hard to put too much commentary due to the uncertainty. If it's Bridgewater, I feel the same way I would have felt about the Jets game because I like I said, I actually think Bridgewater is pretty decent.
Yeah,
so
fine.
If it's him, I think it's gonna be a very close game. If it's not, then the Vikings should cruise. So, like Matt said, look, their offense is pretty decent. I mean, just outside the top 10. So if you're just looking at offense, they're about 11th in DVOA offensive rankings. Not so hot on defense, guys. They're towards the bottom, and that's evidenced by what my Bears were able to do against them moving the ball. And like Matt was joking about, it's the Kirk Cousins problem, right? Like look at the two halves of that Bears game. He came out on fire.
Him and Justin Jefferson. I mean, how many catches and how many yards did he have at halftime?
I just know. I think at one point I lost count, but I think Cousins started off 17 of 17.
Yeah, it was something ridiculous.
It was like insanity. Like it was like NBA Jam but football. Like he was on fire. Like I mean he could not miss a target. And then of course it's like totally opposite the second half. And then so what version of Cousins are you going to get in this game, right? Are you going to get that on fire 17 for 17 where this is why he still has a job and gets paid, right? Because everyone's like, this is what he's capable of, like when he's on. And then you see primetime Kirk Cousins, and he can't hit the side of a barn for if his life depended on it.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, Cousins has always been able to take advantage of bad defenses. Always. That's what's gotten him paid. You do that enough against bad defenses, and you will convince a team like the Vikings that he's better than he is.
Yeah. So ultimately, for everything Matt said, I would say right now I would lean Vikings, and I would say Vikings to cover the spread. I don't really have much comments on the total because of all the uncertainty. I think if somehow magically Tua came back and all the wide receivers on the Dolphins are super healthy with no nagging injuries, then yes, then maybe I'd feel different. And if it was past the key number, then I'd take probably the Dolphins like to cover over some key number. But I feel like once you hear if Tua was back somehow miraculously, you would see a massive line movement and shift to it would either be like a pick 'em or the Dolphins would be favored slightly, in my opinion. I think you'd see a massive movement.
Yeah,
honestly.
I mean, you're right. This game's in Miami. The Vikings are 3-point favorites. If you're using like the common thought that being at home is worth 3 points, they're telling you that the Vikings are 6 points better than Dolphins. And my guess that has to do with the uncertainty at quarterback. Totals you can get it at 45 on DraftKings, which I don't think is horrible. That's actually a pretty good line. Every other book has it at 45.5.
Yeah.
So that's not one of my official bets or anything, but I don't think that's a horrible price at all on the total 45.
Yeah, and if you like that, keep in mind, Minnesota's 8th in pace of play, so pretty quick pace of play. Dolphins lower, but skewed a little bit, in my opinion, because they've been winning a lot of games. But either way, okay. Moving on, we're going at a good clip here. So we have this game,
game of the week,
exciting game. Yeah, game of the week. Just mark it down. So the Buffalo Bills at the Kansas City Chiefs. So
here's a sweat or no sweat before you get into it.
Yeah.
Winner of this, or sorry, not winner of this game. One of these two teams will win the Super Bowl. Chiefs, Bills.
Oh God.
Them versus the field. Chiefs or Bills versus the field.
Yeah.
I think I would take them over the field.
I would. I mean, it in my head, right? It's going to be one of these two right now, at least in my mind. If I were to pick today, it's one of these two versus the Eagles, and I would slightly edge one of these two teams over the Eagles. So
at that point, it's just quarterback. Like as good as Hurts has been,
that's what I'm saying.
He's just not. He's just simply not either of these two, and that's there's no shame in that. Like
no. You're
these
comparing
are two of the
them,
best 5 quarterbacks in the NFL.
Exactly. So, look, the Bills, they came back in dominant fashion, and there was all that narrative of Tomlin and blah blah blah, and you never can, you never can take him for granted. Tomlin's going to scheme tough, and they just got destroyed, right? I mean, so it is what it is. But the Steelers they just don't have the talent. They had a rookie QB, who what can you do? So is this an overcorrection? And because we have seen this, so we've seen this last year. We're seeing it a little bit this year, just kind of some semblance of inconsistency, right? Just here and there, a little bit of up and down. So is this an overcorrection for the Bills to be the favorites playing the Chiefs and seeing the Chiefs at plus money right now? Or do you think this is an appropriately set line?
And it's a home game for the Chiefs.
That's what I was my most intriguing question for you is, do you think the line makers have this right? Or do you think this is off? And there's just inherent value just because you're getting the Chiefs at plus money with Mahomes at home? Or do you think this is actually an appropriately set line, the way the line makers set this?
See, what I think Vegas is trying to goat people into taking the Chiefs because they're going to, like the common public who's not going to know a ton about sports is going to say, wait, the Chiefs are at home and I can get them for plus money. I'm going to take the Chiefs.
Sure.
So I think it's a trap set by Vegas because they know the Bills are going to win. You mentioned, so when you said inconsistency about the Bills, we even talked about it, I think after either the first or second episode, that there's going to be a game where the Bills are just going to sleepwalk through a game. We saw it against the Dolphins. We saw it against the Ravens. But we also said when they need to show up, they will. And just look at so they're 4-1. The 3 monster blowouts, if we dissect the 3, week 1, Rams, defending Super Bowl champ. Week 2, Titans, team that had beat them twice in a row, embarrassed them in like a Tuesday night game because of COVID a couple of years ago. The most recent week against the Steelers. The Steelers beat them in week 1 last year pretty handedly. So you know that Josh Allen came out and said, we're not going to let that happen again.
True.
So to me, this is just like the revenge tour season for the Bills. Like the Bills beat the Chiefs 38-10 last year. And you're thinking like, oh, they that's their revenge. They got their revenge. But then in the playoffs, look what happened. So the cycle is starting back over again. So I think that this is going to be, I don't necessarily think they're going to win 38-10, but no. I do think the Bills are going to win and cover this one.
Yeah. Cause right now I'm looking at it. It's at a lot of books, 2.5. Yeah. 2.5. You can still get at a respectable -120 on DraftKings. I think -3, you're getting even money. like on Caesars at plus 100, I think. So yeah, it's minus 2.5 to 3, depending on how much you want to lay, basically. So
You can even get, I mean, it's BetMGM has this price at -2,
oh, do
but
they got
a
it?
little
Oh, but
bit
minus 130.
a
Yeah,
little bit
yeah.
juiced. Exactly what I was going to say. A little
Yeah,
bit
yeah.
juiced at -130.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, look, we won't belabor this one to death, but basically, you're getting two, top 10 offenses. Bills are 7th, Chiefs in 3rd in offensive DVOA. Bills stout defense. Yes, you can still say there's some concerns about the secondary and how banged up they are, but still they're pretty good. And the Chiefs, respectable. Their rankings have been dropping. 15th overall defensive DVOA. I think they earlier on, maybe a few weeks back, they were as high as like 9th, I think. So they've been dropping a few rankings week by week. So they're kind of coming back to the mean of not as terrible as they were last year, but kind of going back to the middle of the pack. But so I guess, do you think, because obviously we've seen it with Andy Reid, right? Just his persistence about wanting to establish the run. Do you think you still have to stick with that, knowing that, the Bills are going to have a pretty stout, run defense? Or do you think that's a mistake and you should just get into that creative mode and figure out how to get, Edwards-Helaire in some space and just F the run? Or do you think it's smart to just kind of still not give up on it and just keep trying to pound that rock and establish the run game against the D, knowing that they're that stout? Do you stay stubborn and you try to have that balance, or you just say, screw it, let Mahomes do his magic and just get creative out there?
Yeah, I find it funny that like the thought that Andy Reid is known to like to stick with the run, because if you followed him his time in Philly, that dude loves to pass. Andy Reid loves nothing more than to pass. I think when he knows he has an advantage in the run game, I think he will take advantage of it because he's a good coach. But Andy Reid at his core, he's a West Coast guy. He would throw every single play if he could. And I think in this game, like they're going to have to. Like, you don't beat the Bills on the ground. You definitely don't beat the Bills on the ground. I think this is going to be the game in which we really, really feel the Tyreek Hill not being there. I think this is where we're going to feel it the most out of it. I mean, obviously, like that's not the most profound thought in the world. The Bills have the best defense in the NFL. But if you remember that playoff game and the craziness that happened in the final 2 minutes, part of that craziness was Tyreek Hill took a seam route up the middle, just 60 yards to the house because he was just faster than everybody.
Sure.
We've seen the Chiefs offense be good, as you mentioned, but they're 3rd in DVOA so far. They haven't missed Tyreek Hill, but we also haven't seen them play an elite defense. And I think this is where they're going to miss it. They're going to miss him. And, at the beginning of the year, and you made this point, their defense has been slowly kind of descending. At the beginning of the year, they at one point they were 9th. And I know 2 weeks ago they were 9th. Then they dropped to 14th. Now they're 15th. They're slowly descending. We saw Devontae Adams get beat them deep twice.
Yep.
Now what are you going to do against Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs and Isaiah McKenzie? They play a lot of young players on that defense, which makes me nervous.
Yeah, so, no, exactly. So it's hard to tell, right? I mean, but one of those two guys, I mean, this could be potentially like one of those huge, big Gabe Davis breakout games, or they're going to force.
I mean, like last week, 3 for 153 and 2.
God, I know. I mean, but that's the advantage of when you have someone like a Stephon Diggs, or you have like a Tyreek Hill type player. It makes it so much easier for everybody else. I mean, you wouldn't have those opportunities otherwise. So
it's amazing how much a deep threat opens up the offense. Just his existence.
Yeah, I mean, look at what was happening. It's great. And see, this, if anything, it proves your point. They kept cheating everyone, and just even on their rotation, just rotating immediately to crowd, the half of the field with Adams, and he was still able to. He was still able to do that damage. That also speaks to the Raiders' problems, that they couldn't take advantage of the fact that literally
had 4 catches.
It's
and Hollins, 2 of them were on the last
Renfro. Drive. Obviously, it hurt to not have Waller out right away.
Hollins was goosed.
Oh God! Oh my God! I had him for a TD on our live stream, and
he almost
had that one. But this should be a banger. This should be an awesome one. So, but yeah, this one I sat there going back and forth, and as exciting as it was to watch Mahomes come back from that huge deficit and pull out the win at home, I kind of sat there and I'm sticking with numbers, and I'm not letting the recency bias and my own bias that I wanted the Chiefs to win that one cloud my judgment. I do think reality is going to set in, and they're going to realize just how frustrating it is to play against an elite defense. And so I would say, yeah, I do think the Bills are going to take this one, even though it's at, it's going to be, a road game for them. But I think they're going to come back. I think they will cover. I think they might. I'd say they even cover maybe -6, -7, honestly.
Yeah,
So
I don't hate it.
I think they win this one handily, guys. So. All right. So this one, I'm going to let you kick this one off since I kicked it off for my Bears. So we have the Sunday night game, Cowboys at Eagles. So why don't you take it? Just give us your thoughts. Tell us about the Eagles. What are you expecting for this game here?
I mean, who would have thought 5-0 Eagles against 4-1 Dallas with no Dak Prescott having played the last 4 weeks? This game's going to be good. I will say right off the bat, 5.5 points is just it's just too much. It's too much with how good. So there's a couple of things with how good the Cowboys defense is, how good their pass rush specifically is. Like Micah Parsons, that dude is an animal. Assuming he's going to play, I know he was banged up with a groin injury. I think he'll probably play because he finished the game. He was just kind of nursing that groin injury. And the biggest worry that I have is the Eagles have injuries to 3 of their starting offensive linemen, and they're like 3 stud. Their Eagles offensive line is insanely good. But they're 3 like just studs. Jordan Mailata missed last week with a shoulder injury. My guess is that they held him out knowing that the Cardinals don't have a good pass rush, and they thought that they could afford him to not play because he was day-to-day. He was listed as doubtful, but there's no serious damage to his shoulder. Both Dickerson and Kelsey left the game against the Cardinals early. Both returned. Dickerson, of the 2, seems to be more serious because he's been nursing a foot injury. But like having 3 offensive line banged up against this Cowboys defense is scary. Yeah. So that's why I'll just say right off the bat, like I love the Cowboys 5.5. I don't know if I'm confident in like them actually winning outright, but I just think 5.5 points is too much. I'm worried about the Eagles offense. Like they put up 20 points against the Cardinals last week, a really bad Cardinals defense. Yeah. And they seem to fall in love with the short, if you look at Jalen Hurts' spray chart in terms of where his passes went, they were all to the side. Like they did a ton of wide receiver screens, tight end screens. Everything was short. And I think that's because they're worried about the Cardinals are like a heavy blitzing team. And I think with one thing Hurts doesn't do well, which is what we've talked about, is kind of manage the pocket. Like the criticism of Wentz is in a different way is similar to Hurts, where Hurts will just bail. And sometimes he'll bail too early. But you wonder, like, is he going to get happy feet with Micah Parsons running at him, with Dexter or DeMarcus Lawrence running at him? So I'm not worried about the Eagles defense. They've had 1 bad game week 1 against the Lions, 3 phenomenal games against the Jaguars, the Commanders, and the Vikings. And then they were kind of against the Cardinals. They only gave up 17 points, but they let the Cardinals get back in that game. But their defense, I think, their defensive performance was worse than what you see when you see 17 points is what I'll say. So I'm also pretty confident this is going to be a low scoring game, which sucks because I feel like every primetime game is, last night was great. The Monday night game was great. Yeah. But I think it's going to be low scoring. So I'll take the Cowboys pretty confidently, and I'll take the under pretty confidently as well.
So let me ask you this. So, okay. It seems like, Dak is scheduled to start throwing as of tomorrow, right?
Quote unquote, he's going to do a lot, which is what Jerry Jones said. He's going to do a lot.
Okay. So obviously, look, I think the obvious is, right, like you put your best talent on the field if they're available. And I think that's a kind of a given. But just this is a very weird circumstance, right?
They won 4 straight.
4 straight. You're rolling. So not that it's the most beautiful looking offense by any means, but you're winning, right? So I'm not talking 100% Dak. I'm saying, let's say if you had some weird human gauge and you knew that Dak was literally at 75%. So you have a 75, it's a weird scenario. I'm just
I get it.
75% Dak versus what you have with Cooper Rush. Who are you going to roll with?
I think you should stick with Cooper Rush, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, we literally saw, every injury is different, whatever. We literally saw this movie last year with Russell Wilson. He came back too early from, he broke his thumb.
Yeah.
And he was awful when he came back. He was awful. He's bad now. He was worse last year when he came back from that injury. So I think they should sit him. I think he's going to play because I think if I'm Dak, even if I feel like I'm 50%, I'm going to say, no, I'm playing. Like, it's a Sunday night game against the 5-0 division rival. Like, we could take the lead in the NFC East if we win this game. So as a player, I wouldn't blame him. And I think he plays because at the end of the day, you just want to keep your players happy. But if it's not broke, don't fix it. I think is a 75% Dak better than what you're getting out of Cooper Rush? Probably not, because Cooper Rush, he's going to be careful. He's going to take care of the ball. He's going to be a game manager like an Alex Smith. And a Dak Prescott with, an injury to his throwing hand, you worry if the ball isn't going to be as crisp as we're used to seeing from Dak. So is he going to be inaccurate? Is he going to have weak arm strength, float balls, which leads to turnovers, stuff like that? So I think it would be in the Cowboys' best interest if they started Cooper Rush.
Interesting. Yeah. No, I was just kind of interested to see, just because obviously that's kind of the talk of the town over there of what's going to happen, with the position. And I think, that most people would just be like, just put in Dak. He's your best QB. But, if he's not 100%, I think it's a legitimate conversation to have, in my opinion. So,
and it's his literal throwing hand.
Yeah.
It could not be a more important injury.
Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, look, I mean, the only thing I have to say, you kind of broke it down, the way I would have kind of said everything as well. So, yeah, I mean, I think I'd feel more confident. Yeah, the number's kind of high, I think the spread's a little rough. I think when I was looking, I think at one point, it was at 5.5. I think now it's 5. So it's.
Oh, is it? Did it get bet down to 5? Because I checked.
Yeah, it's fluctuating a little. So, unless I haven't refreshed my page. Let me see. I'm going to press refresh right now. Yeah, -5 right now. It looks like in some places. So, 5's a little bit more palatable, in my opinion. But yeah, it's if I had to pick a spread, yeah, I mean, I'd probably, just because of my bias, I'd probably roll with the Eagles. I don't know if I'd really want to take it anything past. If it hits 6, I would go the other way, but 5, I might roll with Eagles. I do think with the total, that part I am with you. I would have to lean the under. I think you have two really stout, good defenses. From what I could tell, even though Parsons had some nagging stuff, he seems good to go. And if he's on the field, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And it's not even just him, it's just the attention that he gets to free up people like Lawrence, just like you were saying. So I feel like it could be a grueling, slow affair. Obviously the Cowboys are going to try to establish the run, and it is going to be possible, versus, the Eagles to do that. So that can eat up the clock. So I think there's a valid case for the under. So if there was anything between the two, I'd probably like the under more than the Eagles covering on my end, at least. But I don't hate it if you want to throw the Eagles into a parlay as a 2-legger and have the Eagles either at a tease down, a teaser of minus whatever, 3, 2.5
or something.
2.5. Exactly. I wouldn't hate that, or, figuring out a way to make it doable with a money line parlay. So I'd say I'd feel more confident in that than just kind of covering the spread. But if I have to pick a spread, I'd go with the Eagles at 5. If it's higher, then I'd probably go the opposite way. So
yeah. And I will say
pretty similar thoughts. So
you can get the Eagles at 4.5 on a couple books. Like PointsBet has them at 4.5. DraftKings.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. I see the 4.5.
Yeah. So you can get them there if you are in agreement with ParlayDoc and you like the Eagles at that number.
4.5 minus 107 on points. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I take that. I dabble at 4.5. So okay.
And the total it's a low number. It's at 42.5 or 42, depending on where you look. Most books have it at, I would say, I mean, it's actually pretty evenly split between 42.5 and 42. So if you like the over, take it over 42. If you like the under, take it under 42.5.
Yeah. Important there. Exactly. All right, guys. So we are going to wrap it up with the Monday Night Football game. And I'm going to preface it with this, guys. I'm going to apologize because this is just going to be more of my own rant fest to break down this game. Of course.
It's another Broncos game for those of you who don't know who's playing on Monday night.
Why? Why do the Broncos have so many of these primetime slots?
It's the fourth one in 6 games. The NFL was really banking on Russell Wilson being good. They were putting a lot of eggs in that basket.
They did, and they put it in the wrong basket. So we have the Broncos at Chargers, guys. Okay, so look. Okay, I'll be quick here. I will say, out of respect, like decent defense, okay, for the Broncos, but this is where there's the disparity. Okay, I'm only going to highlight this part because there's such a huge gap. Broncos offensive DVOA 27th with Russell Wilson at the helm. Okay,
honestly, 27th is better than what we've seen. That number is too high.
Yes, exactly. The Chargers are respectable 9th on offensive DVOA. So look, I know Russ has the shoulder thing. He got some injection, obviously not having Javonte Williams, big loss there. But more importantly, guys, he sucks. Okay. This is not a shoulder thing. He sucks. Okay.
Does the shoulder help you miss open targets? Is that what shoulders injury do? They mess with your head?
He flat out was horrific in that game versus the Colts. And versus a team that you should have been able to light them up in the passing game. Oh my God. I don't even know what you're throwing at in the end zone for some of those interceptions. Red zone offense, the second one is the worst.
It's about as unforgivable as an interception goes.
Yeah. Just horrible.
You kick a field goal, you go up 6, and there's a 99% chance you win the game with how good your defense is.
Just throw it away. Just throw away the ball. So that's not from a shoulder problem. He's just not seeing the field. He is not reading the defense. It's in his head. He's going through his progressions, and then he's making wrong reads. Even on was that an overtime? When was it?
Oh, the fourth down.
Was it? When Hamler that rolled out to the right?
It was 4th down. And even if you look at, like, there are people smarter than us that analyze football that say, like, his read is look left. If it's not there, look right. And he just stayed left. He didn't look right. Left
and wide open, as open as anyone can be. Go look at the photos, guys.
We could have thrown that.
You lofted in that direction, and as long as you put even some average speed on that, he had wide open space.
You could just blow it. You could literally just
exactly, guys. So I'm just saying, look, and I know I'm pissed off because now I got to eat this stupid chip, but I'm just saying legitimately, it's not just me and my hurt feelings. Russell Wilson has been terrible this year. Okay. So I was on Hackett's case in the beginning. Now I'm on Russ's case. This is just, I don't know, man. I'm not, because of bad juju, I'm not going to get involved in this game with putting anything, money wise on this. But if I had to look, what's the line at now? Where are we at? We're at,
I think it was a 4.5 when I last checked.
I don't even like that number. So knowing the Broncos, they would find the way to F me at this point. So that's why.
It's actually very similar to the Eagles Cowboys. It's between 4.5 and 5.5, depending on where you look.
Yeah. So okay, if I have to pick, so I'm not just waffling, I'm going to take the Chargers because the Broncos are that pathetic to me. I will take it out of spite and the fact that, look, I'm being legitimate here. There's a huge gap in offense. And yes, the Broncos defense is decent enough, but you know what? What I saw them do versus the Colts, a sad Colts team without Jonathan Taylor, that was pathetic. Okay. So if the Chargers cannot shoot themselves in the foot, and if they could keep up from an analytics standpoint, their current offensive efficiency, I don't know how the Broncos would keep up. It's as basic as that right now. And the Chargers defense, not amazing, but average. They have an average defense and a top 10 offense. I will take that all day, any day over the current state of the Broncos right now.
Yeah, I mean, I simply cannot dive into another Broncos game. I do not have it in me. Here's what I'll say. They are 100% Broncos are going to cover this game because that's just how the NFL works. They are absolutely 100% going to cover this game.
That's why I'm not touching it with my money. I just can't.
for no rhyme or reason other than this is what happens. This is what happens in the NFL. Remember how bad Jimmy G was on Sunday Night Football against these Broncos? Guess what happened the next week? The 49ers beat the Rams. This is just how the NFL goes. There's a 100% chance that the Broncos cover this spread because everybody's going to feel exactly the way you feel and say, I'm hammering the Chargers because of what I just saw. It's going to be bet up too much, and the Broncos are going to cover. They're probably going to even win outright, and they're going to somehow be 3-3, and we're all just going to be mad about it.
Yeah.
But that's what's going to happen. I can see the future. That's what's going to happen.
Exactly. And that's why I'm going to stay away. But in my heart, not my wallet, my heart is going to hope that the Chargers beat them 42-10. Okay.
I'm not touching the spread, even though I know for a fact the Broncos are going to cover. No way. It was one of your best bets and you're eating the chip. I put 2 units on the Broncos money line. So they didn't even have to cover. They just had to win the game.
Oh my God.
So yeah. I'm right there with you.
Yeah. All right, guys. So anyways, enough of me just reliving my nightmare from last week. But okay, so let's move on, guys, to our best bets. And I know it's been a struggle.
Let's just call them bets.
Let's call them bets for this week. Our week 6 NFL week 6 bets. Okay. So I am at a horrific. Oh my God! What am I 4-10-1, Matt? Am I that terrible? Yeah, right. I think I am. Right?
Yeah, it's been
terrible. It's pretty bad. You might as well just blindly pick at this point. So
honestly, my friends it's a joke. One of my the Pick'em league that we're in. One of my friends is like I went 3-7. Whatever 1 week, so I had my girlfriend pick the next spread. She went 9-3. Like it was like she doesn't know what football is. She just blindly picked and did better than me. So
good lord. But okay. But anyways, you know what? I'm hoping. Give me a few weeks, and we'll get this thing closer to a respectable 500. So I'm still shooting because that's what I do. That's what I do.
Shoot.
And where are you at, Matt? What are you at?
I'm at 7-6-1. So
you go.
I went 0-3, so I was at 7-3-1. But
you know what? But I got to level up to at least get to Matt and be at a respectable over 500. So I got to claw my way back at this point. So all right. So one of the bets that I got, we didn't talk about this game, and I have ragged on them, and I know people have counterpointed me saying I'm wrong, I'm right, yet I'm stupid. The Bengals have an inefficient offense, but I am going to ride with the Bengals this week. Okay. So I know what I'm getting myself into. I'm asking for trouble, and this is why my record sucks. I'm going in with eyes wide open, knowing that even though on paper they have weapons, they just don't have a very efficient offense. And I don't care what anybody says. Everyone gets enamored by the bombs and the long passes. There's a couple per game, but if you actually look at the offensive DVOA stats, they're not a great offense. They don't have a good rhythm right now, but they're playing the Saints.
Get them at -1.
Yes.
I mean, that's a pretty good line. Those Saints stink too.
That's what I'm saying. So it's another one of these. I should just go with the numbers, yet I'm being stupid because I'm just like, I'm hoping they're getting their act together slightly. There have been some flashes, and the Saints have problems, guys, right? So Winston is still injured, right? So
Winston's hurt. Olave just got hurt.
Olave is that. That's what I'm saying.
Michael Thomas is hurt. Jarvis Landry, go ahead. Sorry, it's your pick, but
no, and that's what I'm saying. I'm literally picking because it's one team that has talent and they just can't get it together, and it's another team that's just decimated and you just don't have the talent on the field. So literally, it's because of that, and the fact that I'm hoping that they can make some progress on their offensive efficiency and rhythm. And it's literally a lack of weapons, and you now have a quarterback problem on the Saints side that I just have to.
But Taysom Hill, you don't have counterpoint. Taysom Hill.
I like Taysom Hill actually, but you can't just run Taysom Hill for 4 quarters. That's the problem.
Don't tell Sean Payton that.
What Sean Payton's not? Yeah, he's not there,
I know,
right?
Yeah, you're right.
If Sean Payton was there, I would probably not, because he would find a way to just run
coach.
Taysom Hill for 200 yards probably on the ground and somehow eke out a 3-point victory. But because it's not the case, I am gonna take the Bengals, and I am gonna take the Bengals to cover this. What it's at minus
You literally
one
get
and
it at -1 on some books at -120, but that's what the books are
yeah,
having the main line.
I'm
Or no,
taking
-115 on BetMGM.
yeah, there you go. On BetMGM, I'm gonna take the Bengals to cover that -1, guys. So all right. So you heard it here. I already know there's problems on the offense. I don't care what anybody says. Okay. It's not an explosive offense. It has potential to be explosive. They have not demonstrated it yet, but I am going to roll with the Bengals. That's one of my first bets for this week.
I mean, I like the pick. It's like the same thing with like the Broncos. It's just scary. It's just scary.
It is. It is. I'm walking in with trepidation. I know what I'm getting myself into. A lot of frustration and annoyed text messages to you when I don't see the offense going right, and they're having 5 3-and-outs in the first quarter. But that's what I'm going to roll with as pick one.
I like it. So I have 5. So if we have the situation where we have the same pick, then I can audible. I'll start with one that we've already talked about. Bills -2.5. It's a Vegas goading you line. I'll bite the cheese. I'll take it. The Vegas is goading you to take the Chiefs money line because they know that the Bills are going to win. So I will bite. I will take the Chiefs -2.5. Or sorry, the Bills -2.5.
Okay, I had the Bills -2.5. I'll switch it up. I'll pick a different one. But no. I got a couple more. So yeah.
Okay.
So,
all right. Well, we can see because I like I said, I have 5. So but we can see how things go.
Okay. Yeah. So what else you got? Let's since I was going to go Bills 2.5 too. What else is one of your other ones? So.
Ones that we haven't talked about. 49ers Falcons over 42.5.
Okay.
It's a low number. And I think it's because of how good the 49ers defense is, which I understand. But the Falcons have one of the worst defenses in the NFL. The 49ers will be able to take advantage of a bad defense. They just will. Like they just put up over 30 points against the Panthers. And the Falcons offense, the Falcons are the darlings of the NFL. They're 5-0 against the spread. Not that I think they're going to cover this game, but I think their offense is better than people think. There's a lot of negativity about their offense, and rightfully so, because the Falcons themselves stink and because Kyle Pitts isn't doing anything. But they're like 10th in DVOA. I'm pretty sure last I checked, the offensive DVOA, I'm pretty sure they're 10th. The Falcons, they're 10th in DVOA. They're 15th in total DVOA, only 15th. So I think that's just total. I think that's just too low. I think because of how good the 49ers defense is, because of the Falcons, how I think the negativity around the team as a whole, despite them being 5-0, just because their coach is such a caveman in terms of his philosophy. Mariota is he hasn't been horrible. So anyways, 49ers Falcons over 42.5. I got that at -109 on PointsBet.
Gotcha. Nice. Yeah, I kind of like Mariota. I don't know why. I like his attitude and I like his competitiveness. I've always liked Mariota. I've had a soft spot for him for some reason. He's better, not as stout and strong and fast on the ground, but better Taysom Hill. He's a Taysom Hill that could toss some short passes.
Yeah, there you go. That can throw.
Okay, so. Like I said, I did like the Bills -2.5 as well for all the same reasons we already talked about. This is one a 2-legger, and I know I keep complicating my life with 2-leggers, but that's my moniker, ParlayDoc. So I can't help myself. So I am going to take related to the 49ers. I am going to take them to win outright. I don't see how that stout defense is going to be overcome by the Falcons. So I'm going to parlay 49ers and Ravens as much as there's so much excitement and people are enthused about the Giants. The Packers just totally shit themselves and they handed them that win. I mean, that was and look, respect to the Giants for being tough. I mean, Saquon Barkley's playing out of his mind. I mean, he is. He's legit. He's really come back. He has not gone down the Zeke Elliott pathway. He's actually bounced back, and man, he looks fresh, and he's got that bounce in his step, and he's got that burst, man. He's something. But the Ravens are going to be different than the Packers, so I'm going to take the Ravens to bring the Giants back to earth. And the Ravens parlayed with the 49ers plus money plus 104 on FanDuel. I'll take the plus money on two teams that I feel are very solid for this week's matchup. So Ravens 49ers parlayed plus 104 money on FanDuel.
I like it. The Ravens are another team that I think is almost like a Vegas goat line because they're minus 4.5, 5, or 5.5, depending on where you look. And I think everybody's so in love with the Giants that they're like, they think that this is a trap line. They're like, well, this is too easy. Like, why are the Giants? Why am I getting 5.5 points for the 4-1 Giants who I just saw beat the Packers in London? So I like it. They're not one of my best bets, but I did not even one of my top 5, but I did consider looking at the Ravens minus 4.5 as one of mine.
Gotcha.
The last one, I don't know what to choose between the last 3. It's 2 of them are games we talked about. Cowboys plus 5.5, the under 42.5 in the Cowboys Eagles game. I will not take those, so I don't have to have that much of a rooting interest when I'm watching the Eagles play. I'll go with the Seahawks plus 3.5 against the Cardinals.
Ooh, Seahawks plus 3.5. Okay.
I don't get why I'm getting over a field goal. I mean, this maybe is a Vegas line goading me. This is also a game in which the over is pretty juicy, but it's just bet up so high that I ended up staying away. But the Cardinals stink. I don't get it. There's every single week in which you can get every single week in which there's some sort of clock management joking snafu with Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray. Just like a disorganized coach, a disorganized team. They're poorly coached. They get out to big deficits every single week. And they just hope their offense is basically like, okay, the plays we want to run with Kyler Murray in the first half aren't going to work. We're going to go down 14 to 21 points. In the second half, Kyler Murray is just going to run around and do something crazy. And we're going to hope that brings us back. They're somehow 2-2 or 2-3. They've won 2 games, but give me that field goal. The Seahawks are at home. Geno Smith is playing lights out.
Yep.
Give me the Seahawks plus 3.5 all day.
So, I think over that key number, I like it. I mean, I don't like you said, I mean, Geno Smith, I mean, he
looks great.
This is what you were hoping he was going to be.
He's better than Russell Wilson. I'll say it. He's better than Russell Wilson.
He is better than Russell Wilson. I don't care what anybody says. If you were a nerd, he is way better than Russell Wilson right now, right? I mean, forget even the eye test. If you dig, his numbers don't lie. He's better than Russell Wilson. It's not even close. It's not even close.
The stats, even like the eye test, he just like the ball's coming out crisp. It's like the Seahawks didn't know what they had in Geno Smith. Like when they absolutely wanted Drew Lock to be the starting quarterback when they traded for him, and then Geno Smith beat him out, and they're like, oh, he's actually better. So this is good. Like we got all these picks for a better quarterback.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, since one of our picks overlap, like I said, I'll cite one of my backup picks as well, so that to give people some variety. So if they want one, so this was one we did talk about. It kind of missed my cutoff of my top 3 picks, but since we overlapped on one, I'll throw this one out there. Was and I know the reaction, guys. It's it's a Thursday night game, Thursday night unders. To me, though, it's just God. The line is so low.
I'm over in the Thursday night football.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
That was my that like missed my chopping block of top 3. So this was like my alternate backup pick because I figured just to have one just in case if we overlap. So it's so low, guys, that if it misses and it's like everyone's like, oh, it's another Thursday night game, you're stupid for it. I don't care. I can live with this one. Like I'm not going to hate myself if I miss this one because God, 37.5, guys. I mean, so low with, yes, not the best offenses, but 2 of the worst defense. I mean,
exactly. That's exactly what it comes down to. It's also 2 of the worst defenses. I will take bad offense over bad defense.
Yeah. And so I feel like you won't get it this low again. Like it's like, I know that the natural tendency, and if you look at all the Thursday night trends, everyone's going to cite the historical Thursday night trap and say, just keep smashing the under. Yeah. And maybe you're going to laugh at me. God, this is so low. 37.5 with 2 bad defenses. And like I said, I saw some flashes that I liked in the Bears. And I was sitting there debating, should I take the Bears to win or should I take the over? If I'm going to lean, I'm going to take the over just because, like you said, when Carson Wentz is not pressured by a good defense or an average defense, which the Bears are not, neither of those,
He's fine. He's fine.
He's serviceable, and he's, as much as I've dogged on him, I can see him finding one of his receivers a couple times this game and putting up maybe 17, 21 for the Commanders. And then the Bears just has to do a little bit, just a little bit. Montgomery getting in there once, find Mooney once, Fields rushing by himself. I don't know, but give me 2 touchdowns and a field goal on that side. Give me like 3 touchdowns from the Commanders or vice versa. That's all you really need. Guys.
21-17 hits the over.
That's what I'm saying. It's not a lot. It's not a
lot. No, it's not a lot.
It could be brutal, and it could be 11-10, but you never know. But they're both better than the Broncos. So, anyways, but
that's true. They absolutely will be better than
my final jab.
Watching Russell Wilson.
All right. So those are my 4, or my 3 and my alternate backup ones. So anything else, Matt? What else do you got? Anything else before we wrap up for today's episode?
No, I'll just quickly recap mine. I got Seahawks plus 3.5 against the Cardinals, Bills minus 2.5 against the Chiefs, 49ers Falcons over 42. And then I'll give my backups as well. Cowboys plus 5.5, under 42.5, and Cowboys Eagles.
Yeah, and I had the Bengals -1 at BetMGM, Bills minus 2.5 with Matt, Ravens, 49ers, 2-leg money line parlay at plus 104. And then, like I said, the over 37.5 at minus 110 right now. Most books that you could get those odds basically anywhere. So,
yeah, I like it. 6-0 week. We're gonna whatever the opposite of the chip challenge.
Yes,
I don't know what that is. That's gonna happen this week.
We're gonna ask OddsJams for raises, basically. That's
I was gonna say we eat like ice cream sundaes or something on the live stream,
or that too. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you guys. We love the live streams where you guys come on, comment, you rail on us for sucking, or you commiserate in our misery, and you give us suggestions. It's all in good fun. So we like it, guys. We love the interaction. And again, this episode, this is going to be playing. If you're listening to this, it's a Thursday, and please then stay tuned for the evening live stream so I can do the 1 chip challenge and embarrass myself in front of you guys. And hopefully we hit that over in that Bears Commanders game. So thank you for tuning in. Subscribe to us on our YouTube channel, our podcast, join us for our live streams. We appreciate it. ParlayDoc and Jedi Modi for Sweat the Bet, guys.
Thanks, guys.